Hola amigos! Today in this video at the Refrag Academy we are going to talk about dust2. It was newly introduced to the map pool once again. I guess we all know dust2, we all seen the map before, but if you're new to Counter-Strike, maybe you never really played it before, or maybe you didn't really know how to approach the map from the CT side perspective. But don't you worry about it. In this video, we'll cover the basics of how you set yourself up on the CT side of dust2. So, the CT side on dust2 at a basic level. It is very basic because it's dust2, but we may as well iron it out so everyone understands what to do and how to do it. Now, there is a little bit of a contention point with the spawn points right here that you're looking at, because they can be very decisive in terms of how you want to approach it. But I will cover that in the advanced video where we do a spawn-based system, where we in the basic video do the classic dust2, everyone got their own position sort of style. I would argue that at most levels, it's probably the best to make sure that everyone know their position and everyone know exactly what to do in every 12 rounds you're playing on dust2. But there is a world where you can also do spawn-based setups, but we'll cover that in the advanced video. So we'll start with the player number one. This guy is the long player. This guy's job is to defend A long. Now, he cannot do that alone in the beginning of the round. He will need help from player number two. So what you do is that you always send two guys towards A long. Sometimes you even back him up with a third guy that is throwing flashes, but you always need two guys to make sure that you're able to take the fight on A long if you want to control it. So usually what happens is that you have player number one, player number two, they'll be moving in towards this position, and then the third guy, who's also the A player slash the rotator, will also come towards this area of the map, and he will be throwing a flash like this. So essentially what happens is that you have two guys, player one and player two, in position. Player number three throws a flash. On that flash, peek out, boom, take the fight. Once you control A long, player number one right here is left by himself. It's nice for player number two to put down a smoke like this, which means that player number one now still have a smoke available, but at this point, he's all by himself. When you control A long and no one is pushing out, now it's up to you. So whether you play in a close position where you're hiding behind the door, very aggressive, whether you're playing in this position, a little bit less aggressive, or you're playing a little bit more defensive down from pit like this, completely up to you. There's also an option of going into this corner, as an example, play a bit of an off angle. You have a lot of different varieties in terms of what you can do when you're holding A long, but essentially you're very much left by yourself. So keep that in mind. You get help in the beginning, but once you're in the round and no one came out, it's all on you, buddy. Player number two, who was helping out right here in the beginning, is most of the time falling back, and he will serve as either a rotation player or a guy that is joining up with player number three. So player number three, the guy throwing the flash right here, is most likely the rotation player. He has to make a decision whether or not you want to focus on A side, or if you want to help down in middle, or if you want to have a little bit more focus on the B bomb side. So essentially it's this guy's role to read the game. So if you're playing against someone who's been rushing B an awful lot, or if you're playing against someone who likes to do a mid split, this guy has to be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more aware, and a little bit more assertive towards the mid portion of the map. However, if you're playing against someone who's constantly fighting for long or doing A execute, well, maybe it makes sense to have him play from this position, maybe even being on ramp right here, or be a little bit more, I guess, demanding towards the A bomb side. Same goes for player number three as well. So you have player number one, you have player number two, and you have player number three. These three guys are technically working together, and you can almost argue that they're playing in a line. So let's say you have player number one in pit, you have player number two playing right here, could be with an AWP, could be with an M4. Then you have player number three being on the bomb side. He could be hiding in goose, he can be hiding on site, he can be playing on ramp, but essentially if he's playing right here and there's a player playing right here and there's a player playing right here, you're playing on a line. And at this point, it's very important that you try to help each other out. So let's say that player number one is calling, they're coming out long, they're coming out long. Well, what's stopping this guy from throwing a flash for long that the guy in pit can peek on? Nothing, right? So you're helping the long player. It also helps that, let's say that the guy is saying they're coming long, they're coming long. This guy can now come down here. Again, we throw the flash all the way up from A side, and now you're fighting two guys to try to stop the push on A long. Same scenario can happen if this guy up here is saying, they're coming short, they're coming short. It could be two guys, three guys, four guys pushing out short, doing a short execute. What's stopping the guy standing down in pit right here from throwing this flash? Well, nothing, right? So essentially what I was trying to describe right here is when you're playing in a line like this, you have the ability to help each other. This guy, as said, he's the linchpin. He can move towards A long, he can move towards A side, and he can move down towards middle. It's his job to read the game and make sure that he's already in a position where he can help his teammates. Now, player number four and player number five is completely isolated from what's happening on the A portion of the map. map. Player number 4 is usually your AWP player. His job is to fight middle, control middle, and make sure that no one is coming out middle, or at the very least making sure that it's not an easy time coming out middle. And player number 5 is the B defender. As I showed you on A long, you always want to start by having 2 guys on the B bomb side, because if they're rushing B, we all tried it before, if the T side are just coming in, flashing in like this, and they're rushing B, it can be very tough for one B defender to kill 5 guys. It's almost impossible. So what you want to make sure is that you have 2 players coming up here from the beginning of the round. A very good idea is to always pre-Molotov tunnels. If you always have one guy throwing in this Molotov, it makes a B rush way harder than it should be, because it forces the T side to either run through the flames and lose half their HP, put down a smoke in the flame and give up the information that they're rushing B super early, and also they have to rush through a smoke like this and come out. That's never comfortable. Let me give you the example just so you can see it from their perspective, right? Either you run through that, but you can also put down the smoke like this, but you're coming out, and when you're out of the smoke, you're in the open, right? So it's never nice for the T side to have to go through that. So if I'm you playing on the CT side and you have money, always have one guy putting down a Molotov. That can be, let's say, player number 4. And then you have one guy coming in from window who's doing a pre-flash like this and dropping down on the side. At that point, you should make sure that if they're rushing B, you have a higher chance of stopping it, or you're basically just making a statement telling the T side that you cannot rush B. Once you have control over the B bomb side, just like on A long, you can have player number 4 throw in a smoke in tunnels, which leaves player number 5 with all his utilities still in store. Now you're left by yourself. Now your job is to defend the B side of the map. Of course, you can ask for help for your player number 4 who's playing maybe in middle like this. It could be that he's playing with the AWP and he's being aggressive, trying to take a peek. He can be a little bit more defensive and play up from window like this. At this point, he has to make sure that he's giving information to his players on A. So what I see happening a lot on dust 2 at lower levels, and you probably tried it before, is that if your player number 4 is playing from window, in theory, the T side can walk out like this and kill the guy right here without being spotted. So if the T side is out right here, standing right here, he can spot all the way up in CT spawn like this, and this guy cannot see him. So if you're playing defensive on the B bomb side as player number 4, that's fine. You just have to tell your teammates that they have to be careful because they can't be shot from middle. So that's essentially how you line up. You have 3 players on the A bomb side, one guy being the rotator, one guy being the guy who makes up his mind whether or not he want to be towards CT spawn, if you want to help short or if you want to help long. That's his decision. A lot of responsibility in this guy. I would argue that if you think you're a smart player and you have a good sense for the game, this is the preferred role. And then you have 2 guys towards the B bomb side, where one guy is the steady B anchor, as we like to call it, and one guy could be the AWP, is a little bit more a rotational player. He can of course help the B guy, but he can also fight middle, and he can also call for backup from the rotation player over here. Let's say that you have a setup where you have one guy standing right here and you have another one standing right here. All of a sudden you do a crossfire. So the guy playing the rotation role on the B bomb side and the guy playing the rotation role on the A bomb side, they have to communicate a lot, because I would argue that the 2 most important roles when it comes to defending the CT side on dust 2. Now in the advanced video, I'll show you different ways you can set yourself up at a more advanced level. We can even use the spawns and do spawn setups. I'll show you a couple of pushes that can deny map control from the T side or give you a better chance of winning the round. Before we get into that, make sure you have it set up. Make sure you understand the B anchor, the A long anchor, and the 2 rotational players that I just showed you right here, because once you have the basic nailed down, it's much easier to get advanced. So once you're ready for that, you can check out the advanced video that we have at the Refrag Academy in terms of how you play the CT side on dust 2. That's it for the CT side dust 2 basic. As said, we have an advanced video you can check out as well, but if you want to make sure to get into the groove of dust 2, if you want to make sure that you understand what to tell your teammates or tell your friends when you're playing dust 2, I think this video should have helped you and should have given you a good idea of how to approach dust 2 at a relatively new level. As said, don't be afraid to dive into the advanced video, because that one we get a little bit into the nitty gritty. That one we get a little bit more aggressive, we get a little bit more creative, and trust me, dust 2 CT side can be hella fun if you got a couple of tricks up your sleeve. And those I'll show you in another video.